Welcome back. You're switching in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidiri. Remember in the first hour of the show, the first interview of the show, we had a quick radio interview with Dudula, Chairperson of Operation Dudula, because, well, they've reignited tensions around immigration once again. This time around, they are focusing on education in South Africa. Members of the movement delivered notices to schools in Soweto, warning them not to admit undocumented children from 2026. In that interview, Dudula mentioned that the campaign will expand nationwide, and it's, I think, a move that critics across the board argue undermines children's constitutional rights to education. The Department of Education here in Gauteng insists that every child, regardless of their documentation status, is entitled to schooling, but migrant communities are on the edge because of Operation Dudula. And to give us a perspective, we're joined now by Dr. Vusi, Sibanda, Chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum, which represents largely African migrant communities here in South Africa. Mr. Sibanda, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure having you here on Salam Media, and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning to the viewers.
We'll jump right into it. Operation Dudula says undocumented children should not be allowed in South African schools. What is your immediate reaction to these notices being delivered directly to schools, telling principals not to admit children of undocumented foreign nationals?
Well, Operation Dudula is obviously operating a parallel state, and the state or the government has basically ignored the existence of Operation Dudula and what it basically is saying. I mean, sending notices to schools as if it's an authority is actually belittling and showing that it is in defiance of the Constitution. It is not bound by the Constitution, which is the supreme, law in the country, and the constitutional court orders that have been issued are nothing to Operation Dudula. I mean, I think there is nothing more barbaric than that, and there is nothing that shows that South Africa is becoming a banana republic more than allowing Operation Dudula to continue acting in the manner that it has continued to operate, defying the law and causing such, acts that have led to the death of people and children not being admitted to schools and hospitals.
Whilst I was having a conversation with Dudula, Chairperson of Operation Dudula, she made a point that I would like you to maybe respond to. She said, organizations like yourselves only respond or start speaking out when things are a bit tense, when tensions flare up, but don't always engage constructively with communities that feel overwhelmed. How do you respond to those who say foreign nationals also put a strain on schools and services here in South Africa, and you never say anything about it, but you're always in the forefront when it comes to condemning actions like those of Operation Dudula?
Well, one of the things that we obviously do is to make sure that the rights of the disadvantaged people, including the migrants, are obviously protected. And like I said, I mean, Zandile just speaks out of 10. She doesn't, whether it's true or not. I mean, obviously, she would have known that, for a long period of time, we've engaged with government and other organizations and communities. Hence, we've always, spearheaded in the past, functions like, Africa Day. We've got the social cohesion, games that we've been doing here in Gauteng with the premier and various stakeholders. And, we've had engagements with the police, anti-crime, blitz, and trying to campaign to see how best we can, ensure that migrants are properly, documented, even those that shouldn't be in the country, but at least they are biometrics and all that are captured so that they cannot just commit crime and run away. We've dealt with government, we've dealt with, the president, we've written to the president, we've written to the ministers, home affairs, and so forth. So, I mean, Zandile is just an attention seeker who doesn't even know what is the history of South Africa and how it relates with African states even to date.
One thing which I think is very, very important to note is the fact that the sentiment that's currently going around, whether it's around education or it's around healthcare, is not only shared by Zandile and members of Operation Dudula. I think it's starting to, capture should I say, imagination of most South Africans who are in the townships, who are in areas that feel neglected and forgotten by the government. They feel like, you know, foreign nationals are the reason why, which I think it's misdirected. How do we start having a conversation? How do we start educating South Africans of the true and real facts around migration, its role, and most importantly, the extensive failures of the government, which ultimately is the reason why they feel left out, they feel neglected, and they feel like resources are scarce. Instead of, you know, being at loggerheads with each other, start educating.
Look, I think the reason why, I mean, organizations like Operation Dudula put South Africa first, you know, March and March, you know, Patriotic Alliance, you know, have gained a little bit of traction and, you know, obviously gotten the attention of not the bulk of, you know, the population of South Africa, but the numbers that obviously are following who are not really in the majority, but the minorities. Operation Dudula is doing what it's doing because they think that, you know, that's how to bribe, you know, those organizations that are on the extreme right and probably, you know, get a vote from them. So the best way to deal with these particular issues is, one, to understand that there's always going to be, you know, people that are going to have, you know, right-wing nationalist views and all that, and extremists, you know, when it comes to migration. But the important issue is that we need the law to take its course when people break and violate the law. And that is where the issue is. If you look at the role of migration, you know, social cohesion and integration, there's been ongoing efforts for a very long period of time in trying to make sure that there is a relationship, and that is not really in vain, because we've got migrant you know, individuals or people that live in communities, you know, in townships, and at all material times there is, you know, a relationship between them and the native South Africans. So what basically happens is, we've got these sporadic, you know, actions and then attacks that come up because obviously of the frustration that people are facing, and people then try to find, it's like a fissure, you know, where if there is a lot of pressure, there is an exit wound. So migrants have simply become an exit wound where people, you know, that are frustrated can only show that, look, we are frustrated. They want to demonstrate their frustration, and unfortunately they demonstrate it on the lives of people that, you know, are also as vulnerable because they are concerned, you know, about themselves. And once they've got organizations that are like Operation Dudula, they become that channel and pathway to ensure that, you know, they can channel, you know, that energy and try and harness it so that they can show their dissatisfaction. And obviously the only way to deal with that, and we've said it over and over again, every time there is an outbreak, every time there is an attack on migrants, that government, there is no will in government. There is actually institutional xenophobia or Afrophobia from the government, because the government is not doing anything, you know, to those people that are perpetuating this attack. We've got people that have died as a result of actions of organizations like Operation Dudula, children that have, you know, died right now because of being denied, you know, hospital facilities, and those that also, you know, are not able to attend school. But government is not doing anything. They are disruptive. Their behavior is disruptive, but government is not taking action. When it's very simple, ringleaders should be arrested when they mislead people or people that are instigating violence.
Well, there you have it. Vusi Sibanda, Chairperson of the African Diaspora Global Network. We're going to on that note. Really appreciate your time, and I hope we chat again soon. Goodbye.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I think it's quite clear that you know, the debate over migration rights and resources in South Africa is clearly far from over, and I think it'll take a lot of engagement, and it'll take action from government to make sure that things don't spiral out of control. That we don't have scenes like the ones of back in 2008, where it was ugly. You know, you had foreign nationals being torched, burnt alive, because again, the government was too late to act, and they just let things spiral out of control. And we've come to a point where even foreign nationals themselves are saying, well, we won't just sit back and be attacked. We're going to do something about it. So might even be at the brink of an almost civil war brewing between South African nationals and migrants who are here in South Africa, who believe they should also be enjoying a certain level of protection from the government. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting turn of events. We hope it doesn't spiral out of control and get that bad. But we need to get the conversation going. What do you think? What do you believe? Do you think undocumented children should be allowed in South African schools, or should organizations like Operation Dudula be dealt harshly by the government, and maybe not even be taken seriously? People are misdirecting their anger, they're misdirecting their frustrations to foreign nationals, as Vusi said, people that are, vulnerable as they are, if not more vulnerable because of their status. You can engage with us. Our studio line is 0116800355. Our WhatsApp line is 061-766-0355. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our hashtag Fire Up feature with Hafez Imran Chunara, Personal Excellence Coach and CEO of Africa Muslims Agency. More on that after this.